What's going on? It's Astronaut H, and this is the What More Do You Want Network. Now, in this video, I will be discussing Game 2 of the NBA Finals between the Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat. And after Game 1, I really honestly didn't see the Denver Nuggets changing too much of their strategy on what they did. I mean, ultimately, which led to a win. But when you look at the Miami Heat not getting to the free throw line, Jimmy Butler not having the best offensive performance, also their role players not having the best performance, you pretty much knew that Eric Spoelstra was going to make some changes necessary to do what, they've been doing pretty much the entire postseason. Now, Gabe Vincent did not start, Eric Spoelstra elected to go with Kevin Love back to that lineup. And it reaped its benefits early. I'll speak on a guy that I feel like, came to play very early on in this game, and that was Max Strus. He was the one looking for his shot very early, and to that same effect, the Denver Nuggets defense just couldn't get a handle on him. The same shots that he was missing in Game 1, he was making in Game 2. So early on for the Nuggets, as far as offense was going, it was more or less about what Joker was doing because he was more aggressive than he was in the first game, especially offensively. He wasn't looking too much to facilitate in Game 2. You seen him looking for his shots every chance they got. But I will say this, Bam Adebayo, who surprised me as much in Game 1 as he did in Game 2, was definitely looking for his shot also. And, to go along with Jimmy Butler's offense and, like I said, Gabe Vincent, the Denver Nuggets found themselves down very early on in this game, but did make a run into the second quarter and found themselves up by halftime. Again, the shot making of Jamal Murray, the play of Joker, Bruce Brown, guys like that. Also, Christian Brown, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But when it came to halftime and the Denver Nuggets being up, I'm like, okay, this is where the Nuggets make their run, make their push, and create that separation. That was not to be in this particular game. You seen every punch that the Denver Nuggets threw, the Miami Heat threw too. It was just a game of haymakers and runs, honestly, when you seen Kyle Lowry come in and make an impact off the bench. Caleb Martin came in and did some things, even though he wasn't scoring to the clip that he was in the Boston Celtics series. He still was he made an impact in Game 2. Again, like I said, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Gabe Vincent, who had another great game, to go with what he did in Game 1. And for the Miami Heat, like I said, it was going to have to be a collective. I said this, if they were to win any game in the series, I believe it was going to have to be Game 1 because due to how the Denver Nuggets played at home so far in the series. Now, make no mistake, even though the Nuggets were down late in this basketball game, they still made a push, made a heavy run going into the late stages of the game. And I want to talk about the actual last play of the game where, they were down 3. I'm speaking on the Denver Nuggets. And Michael Malone elected not to call a timeout. Now, in any other situation, I think not calling a timeout is something that, is warranted. You want to see what your players do to kind of figure it out to get the win. It's 108, 111, your team down 3, put the hands in one of your best players, which was in this situation Jamal Murray, and see where things go. He did get he did get a pretty much open shot for 3, but he did miss. And like I said, in that situation, I think a timeout would have, because they did have 2 timeouts. Now, I could have seen if they had 1, but they did have 2 timeouts left, and you could have called the timeout, got a nice play run, drawn up, and seen where things could have went from there. If you don't get what you like the first time, call your second time out and, draw up something different. So ultimately, the Denver Nuggets did lose, but like I said, it was a tough game through and through for both sides, and the Miami Heat found the way. You know, like I said, I didn't expect nothing less from Eric Spoelstra to make the necessary adjustments. And also, the Miami Heat got to the free throw line more times than they did in game one. They hit more threes than they did in game one. You know, the role players, the excellent play from Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, who had 10 big points in the fourth quarter. You know, Max Strus, who set the tone for the Miami Heat, in my opinion, early. And make no mistake, Nikola Jokic had a 40-point game. But the defense by Caldwell Pope and Michael Porter Jr. was just horrible. Now, make no mistake, Aaron Gordon did not have the same game that he had in game one also. But when you look back on the tape and you look at how Michael Porter Jr. and you look at how Caldwell Pope elected to play defense in that game, in game two, it just was not room for them to be, you know, making the mistakes that they made. They made a lot of mistakes defensively. You know, you've seen Michael Porter Jr. out of position. You've seen Caldwell Pope out of position on multiple occasions. And I feel like that's what Michael Malone was speaking on, you know, during in between timeouts and in between commercial breaks and things like that. And if the Denver Nuggets are going to ultimately win this series, they have to play much better defensively. They have to play much better defensively because, granted, yes, they can score, but if they are not stopping the Miami Heat, especially their outside shooting, they don't have a chance, in my opinion. They don't have a chance to actually win this series because at some point it's going to be, again, it was a breakout game from Matt Strus. It was a good fourth quarter from Duncan Robinson. You had Gabe Vincent with another big game. You had Jimmy Butler's offense. You had Bam Adebayo's offense. You had Kyle Lowry coming in and making plays. Things like that, that elects to wins, especially at this stage of the season. When you have, you know, Joker still putting up his gaudy numbers. I mean, he played out of this world last night, but it still wasn't enough. So now as the series shifts to Miami, you know, tied at 1-1, it's pretty much anybody's series. I'm still going with my original pick and saying that the Denver Nuggets will win this series in 5. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the series turns out now that, you know, Miami will be home for the next 2 games and we see where things go. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what, you know, adjustments are going to happen going into game 3. And I'm more interested to see what the Nuggets do defensively to start game 3 more than anything. I see that the Heat found some things that worked in game 2. So going into game 3 is going to be interesting to see what both teams do. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Miami Heat fans, Denver Nugget fans, NBA fans, or if this is just your first time tuning into this channel, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can know anytime a video is being uploaded to this channel. It's Astronaut H. This is the What More Do You Want Network, and I catch you guys on the next video.